this is what it might look like. Let's say I've sat with Jackson, I've been his teacher aide for the day. I'm going to fill in this little entry for him. So this could be something that's in a Word document. It could be something that is a template you use in your school system. I'm not sure quite how it might look in your setting, but you can see that we're using the same things that were on our checklist from before when we're making an entry. So I've put his name in, Jackson Peterson in grade 5C, his student ID ATA 13012. The teacher aide name for the day was Kim Nusky, and the date that we did the observation was the 12th of June. And I've also put in term 2, week 9, just because I know how helpful that is for the people on the other end who are looking at all the data and putting it together. It makes it very quick to be able to count how many weeks of evidence. Okay, I'm going to just put a little blurb in here about what we did with Jackson. Hypothetically, we helped him in class today, and I'm just going to spend 1 minute just listing the things, the adjustments that we did. So Jackson worked with the teacher aide today. He used his laptop to use the voice to text feature, and he worked through the digital template of the lesson. I broke down the tasks and explained the step-by-step instructions as Jackson worked. He needed to be reminded to focus on his learning. Jackson wore his headphones for the second half of the lesson due to the noise levels, and then he used his exit ticket for a break. So you can see I have not even mentioned what lesson we're in, whether it's maths or English or the concepts. What I'm focusing on is the things from the list of adjustments that he has used in today's lesson. Now, that doesn't mean you can't comment on the content. You absolutely can, but it's really important that we focus on the adjustments that are in place for him. So I've highlighted those in green for you. You can see he worked with the teacher aide. He used a laptop, voice to text, digital template, breaking down the task in step-by-step, reminding him to focus, using his headphones, and an exit ticket. That is all adjustments that were used in that one lesson that I worked with him on this day. Then we make a comment about, was it effective? So Jackson was able to complete the learning task, so I'd say, yeah, it was effective. Okay, it doesn't have to be anything too long, but we're looking at, do any of the adjustments, maybe they're not effective and we need to change them? But for today, we're going to say, yes, they were really great. Any changes? Well, he would benefit from a quieter classroom. And maybe it was a relief teacher in there for the day. You know all the reasons why kids' noise levels go up, mostly because they're just kids. So having a quiet classroom environment could be something I talk to the teacher about, but I'm just going to make a note of it in my record that he was quite distracted because of the noise. And then I'm going to share with you something that you might make a note of. So Jackson shared that his grandma has come to stay and that she's unwell. Now, because I work with Jackson a fair bit and I know that he has autism, I know that this is probably going to upset him and rock his boat a little bit. So I'm going to make a note of it, because this note, this record, actually gets shared with Jackson's teacher. Okay, so wherever we've decided to record this, whatever your school process is, all of those records that you keep should always be accessible to the classroom teacher, because ultimately the classroom teacher is the one legally responsible for Jackson's learning. Okay, so the teacher should always know what's going on and have their finger on the pulse. So I've just made a comment because I think, yeah, that's something the teacher should know, and I might not get a chance to chat with them. Now, I can already hear your minds ticking because I've done this job where I worked in a secondary setting for a little while, filling in as a teacher aide. And when you help 5 students in one lesson and then you've got to make an individual entry for all of them, it does take time. And by the end of the day, if you've done 6 or 7 periods, it can really pile up. Okay, so I've got a few ideas for what it might look like to make it a little bit more efficient. This is what we would call a written record or a pastoral care entry, where you actually write out in sentence form what adjustments were put in place. Another format that your school might look at using, or they may already use, is a weekly record. So you can see at the top, I've got all of that information about the student's identity. So the name, the grade, their ID. And in this setting, I'm actually pretending that Stella and I are 2 teacher aides and we share, we job share. Essentially, I only work 3 days a week, Stella works 2 days a week, but we go into the same classroom. So what we've decided is, let's use different colored highlighters and just initial on the checklist the adjustments that we see and that we've put in place for that day. So you can see down the left-hand side, I've listed the adjustments. Now, I haven't listed all of them because I ran out of space on the slide. But if you imagine that all of the adjustments are listed and they're always there, and then you just go across, yep, I was in there on Monday, and I'm just going to put my initial next to the adjustment that we used that day. There's always a spot at the bottom where we can make any notes where we need to say, look, his exit ticket got wet in the bubbler, so we need a new one, or the laptop was really distracting today and he misused it with the internet instead. Like things like that where the adjustments might need to be altered a little bit. Or maybe you've had an idea, you've learned something and you say, hey, I wonder if Jackson would actually benefit from a wobble stool. And it might be a suggestion for an adjustment. So there's always a spot to write notes. But for those adjustments that you're in a routine and okay, these adjustments are working and we're just keeping a quick record of what we've used that day.